He's drowning in grease while his sister is thriving. My parents mocked my dream diner and called me a failure. They went to my sister's BBQ instead of my opening. Months later, I'm booked solid, and they're begging for shifts. Hey Reddit, Connor here. I never thought I'd be that guy posting on here, but when your family tries to hijack your dream diner, things get messy fast. What started as my proudest moment turned into a full-on family circus of lie and sabotage. Let's just say, they picked the wrong guy to underestimate. I, 27 male, don't know who needs to hear this. But if you're thinking of chasing a dream, prepare yourself for the part where your family looks at you like you've decided to join the circus. That was me. For years. I wanted a diner, not a food truck for fun, not helping out in someone else's kitchen. No, my own kitchen. Booths, coffee mugs that clink like glass even though they're ceramic. The whole deal. I busted my ass for it too. While my golden child sister Erica, 24 female, was bouncing around from job to job like a tourist trying out Tinder dates, I was saving every dollar, learning how to fix up busted equipment and drawing plans for what my diner would look like. My friends were out blowing money on pointless crap. Meanwhile, I was on Craigslist hunting for secondhand griddles that still had some life left in them. Finally, after years of grinding, I signed the lease on a worn-out corner spot that used to be some sad little thrift shop. I sent out invites for my grand opening. Nothing crazy, just a heads up in the family group chat, a couple flyers, and a, hey, I'd love for you guys to come. Deep down, I knew what was coming, but some part of me still had that dumb little spark of hope. Maybe this time they'll show up. Maybe they'll see what I've built. Spoiler, they didn't. The morning of my grand opening, I was up at 4 a.m. It was perfect. People trickled in. Locals curious about the new spot. A few truckers passing through. Some randoms who saw the flyer. By mid-morning, I had a nice little buzz going. Strangers were complimenting me, asking if I was hiring, telling me they'd be back. And every single time that front door creaked open, my heart jumped. I thought maybe this time it'd be Mom, or Dad, or Erica finally waddling in with her fake corporate girl outfit. Every time, it was just another stranger, which was great for business, don't get me wrong, but it burned. Then, on my break, which was me standing in the back pouring cold coffee down my throat, I checked my phone. And there it was. Photos of my family, all gathered around a grill in Erica's backyard. Everyone holding up beers and laughing like they were at some kind of Super Bowl commercial. The caption? From Mom, of course. Family always shows up, congratulations, Erica, on your first big step. First big step. You'd think she cured cancer. No, she got her first office job. That's it. The same girl who quit being a receptionist after 3 weeks because the phones were stressful and walked out on a hostess gig because customers were rude. The same girl who lasted less than a month at a clothing store because the discount wasn't good enough. That girl gets a backyard BBQ thrown in her honor like she just signed a $1 million deal. Meanwhile, I'm opening the actual diner I've been planning since high school. And where are they? Stuffing their faces with potato salad at Erica's. I scrolled through the photos, the whole family lined up for a photo, cheesing at the camera, while I was back at my diner wiping tables no one in my family bothered to sit at. And the cherry on top? Erica's smug selfie. Her holding up a burger with a caption, "Nothing beats family support." I almost dropped my phone into the fryer. I had actual customers. Paying customers. People who came back twice in one day because they liked it that much. Meanwhile, my family? They couldn't be bothered to drive 10 minutes down the street because they had burgers at Erica's. Because she finally managed to hold onto a job long enough to print out a name badge. I should have been crushed. But honestly, sitting there in that booth, staring at the neon sign glowing against the window, something clicked. If they want to act like I don't exist, fine. I'll build something so big they'll have no choice but to choke on it. They want to worship Erica for showing up to work without quitting? Cool. Let's see who still has customers lining up a year from now. Spoiler alert, it won't be her. And that's how my diner story started. Not with support, not with family cheering me on, but with strangers believing in me more than the people who raised me. And honestly, that's all I needed. Because one thing about me, I don't need cheerleaders. I need results. And results? Oh, they were coming. The very next week, I found out just how deep my family's stupidity ran. One of my cousins came by the diner for breakfast. He was the type who doesn't say much. Quiet, polite, eats like he's trying not to offend the plate. But halfway through his pancakes, he leans in and goes, "Hey, I gotta tell you something. Uncle Mike wanted to pitch in and help you get this place running. But your dad told him not to. Said you're, what was it? Financially irresponsible." I laughed right in his face. Not at him, but at how on-brand it was. Dad had apparently gone around whispering in relatives' ears, telling them not to invest in me. Don't waste your money. He's not stable. The diner won't last. That kind of garbage. Imagine that. Your own father campaigning against you like I'm some shady politician running for office. Meanwhile, who does he have no problem bankrolling? Erica, the same sister who's made quitting jobs a full-time career. At the BBQ between selfies and "look at me, I have an office badge now" speeches, she apparently announced her new plan: buy rental property, a condo specifically. And Dad, without missing a beat, offered to help with the down payment. Yeah, let that sink in. I build an entire diner from the ground up with blood, sweat, and secondhand equipment, and he tells people I'm not responsible. Erica manages to show up to work for 2 weeks in a row, and suddenly, she's a candidate for Shark Tank. I'll admit, that one stung. Not because I needed their money, I had already funded the diner myself, but because of the sheer hypocrisy. Dad's always preached about earning your keep, hard work, self-reliance. Apparently, those rules only apply to me. Erica? She gets the royal treatment just for existing. And if that wasn't enough, words started trickling in from customers about rumors. Ugly ones. One guy leaned over the counter after finishing his omelet and asked, "Hey, just curious, you got a pest problem here?" My cousin said he heard something about roaches. Excuse me? Roaches? I keep that diner cleaner than a hospital ward. I asked him where he heard that, and he just shrugged, said it was going around. The next day, a woman came in for coffee and biscuits and asked me if my fryer oil was the same stuff from last week. Another rumor. Then a family of 4 walked in, looked around suspiciously, whispered to each other, and left without ordering. That's when it clicked. Erica. Of course it was Erica. She couldn't just have her BBQ moment and move on. She had to keep chipping away at me, even after I ignored her little victory party. She was telling anyone who'd listen that my diner was greasy, dirty, crawling with bugs, and people believed her, because she's the golden child, and I'm the one they've been trained to doubt since birth. I didn't even get mad. I got strategic. I texted her, straight to the point. You spread one more lie about my diner, and I'll drag your ass into court for defamation. You think Dad's gonna bail you out of that? Good luck paying legal fees with your 2-week paycheck. She left me on red, but I knew she saw it. And I knew she was rattled, because the next family gathering, which I didn't attend obviously, she suddenly went quiet whenever the diner came up. My cousin filled me in later. Apparently she tried to make a snide comment about grease traps, and everyone looked at her like she farted in church. That was the first real crack in her armor. But here's the thing about entitled people. They don't stop when they lose. They double down. Erica wasn't about to let me stand tall without trying to kneecap me again. That's what made her dangerous. She didn't just want to be successful. She wanted me to fail, so she could shine brighter by comparison. Meanwhile, business was slowly growing. Word of mouth was strong. And honestly, that scared my family more than anything. If I had failed right away, they could have shrugged and said, "See? We told you so." But me holding steady, actually making it work, that was a threat to the narrative. The narrative where Erica is the responsible one, and I'm the lost cause with silly hobbies. So they pushed harder. I'd hear backhanded crap through relatives, Dad saying, "Well, diners don't last long statistically." Mom sighing, "Connor just doesn't think things through." Erica telling friends she was helping me behind the scenes, as if I needed her guidance on how to show up to work 2 days in a row without quitting. It was pathetic. And here's the thing. Instead of tearing me down, all it did was make me sharper. I started keeping meticulous records, photos of the kitchen spotless at close, receipts, reviews, even the pest control guy's monthly reports. I wanted a paper trail so airtight that if anyone tried to smear me again, I could shut them down before the words left their mouths. That's when I realized something important. They weren't fighting me because I was failing. They were fighting me because I was succeeding without them. And that scared the hell out of them. So let them talk. Let Dad whisper to uncles. Let Erica brag about condos she'll never buy. Let Mom roll her eyes at me. I wasn't losing sleep, because while they were busy playing family politics, I was out here stacking receipts. One of those receipts came walking through my door on a Tuesday morning. Big guy, trucker hat, beard like a carpet sample. He ordered my loaded breakfast skillet. Hash browns, sausage, bacon, peppers, eggs, and cheese, all sizzling together in one cast iron pan. The kind of thing that'll keep you full until the next state line. He takes one bite, sets his fork down, and pulls out his phone. Starts filming himself talking about it like he's auditioning for the Food Network. I thought nothing of it at the time. People take pictures of food all the time. Half of Instagram is just lattes and salads. But this guy wasn't your average selfie eater. Turns out he was a regional food vlogger, one of those dudes who reviews diners and truck stops on TikTok and Facebook. He called me over, asked a few questions, filmed the skillet on the sizzling plate, then left with a smile and a pat on the back. By the next morning, I had a line. Not one or two people, an actual line out the door. Truckers, locals, even some college kids who normally wouldn't be caught dead outside Starbucks. Everyone saying the same thing. We saw the video. I pulled it up that night. The guy had titled it, Hidden Gem, Best Skillet in Town. Within 12 hours, it had 100,000 views. By the end of the week, it was closing in on 500,000. People were tagging their friends. We have to go here. The diner went from cute news spot to local hotspot overnight. I couldn't keep up with the orders. I was running the grill like it was a military operation. Eggs down, bacon flip, skillet serve. Coffee cups never hit empty. The air smelled like butter and sizzling onions. And people loved it. That rush? That was proof. Proof that no matter how much my family slandered me, the real world was voting with their wallets. Of course, guess who saw the video too? Erica. She must have choked on her kale chips when she saw people praising me online. Because within days, I started hearing the new version of her story. She was telling coworkers that she gave me the idea for the diner, that she helped with the menu, that I came to her for advice about how to make it work. Yeah, the same woman who once quit a job at a smoothie bar because it was too sticky was now taking credit for my diner. The best part? One of her coworkers actually came in to check the place out. Nice woman. Ordered a burger. Said she'd heard Erica consulted on the diner. I just smiled and said, yeah, Erica's consultation was really valuable. She recommended I buy ketchup. Groundbreaking stuff. The woman laughed, realized I was being sarcastic, and said, so, she wasn't actually involved? Nope, unless you count stealing napkins at family BBQs as industry experience. By the time that woman left, I knew she'd be spreading the real story around her office, which meant Erica was digging her own grave, lying to people who would eventually find out the truth. Meanwhile, I wasn't about to sit back and let her rewrite history. I started documenting everything, every receipt, every catering order, every online review, screenshots of the viral post, photos of happy customers, even a folder with pest control inspection reports, just in case she tried that roach rumor again. I wasn't just running a diner anymore. I was building a fortress of evidence. If they ever tried to step in, claim credit, or sabotage me again, I wanted to be able to bury them with facts. But here's the real deal. With all that success pouring in, I noticed the silence from my family. No congratulations. No, we saw the video. Proud of you. Nothing. It was like they'd made a pact to never acknowledge it. Because if they admitted I was succeeding, that meant their golden child wasn't the only star anymore. And you could tell Erica was rattled. She tried dropping little jokes in the family chat. Stuff like, hope your diner can handle the grease fires with all that business, haha. I ignored it. Silence is scarier than clapping back sometimes. Because I knew something she didn't. The more successful I got, the more desperate she'd become. And desperate people make mistakes. The diner kept buzzing. Fridays and Saturdays were insane. Truckers parking across the street. Families waiting 40 minutes for a table. Kids pointing at the viral skillet like it was Disneyland. I had locals offering to work part-time just to get their hands in the rush. And every dollar that hit my register was another nail in the coffin of my family's narrative. I didn't need Dad's guidance. I didn't need Mom's sighs or Erica's lies. I was out here running a diner that was pulling more people in a day than Erica's BBQ pulled in total. I knew then, this wasn't just a business. This was a war. And the diner was my battlefield. They wanted me to fail. They needed me to fail. And when I wouldn't hand them the satisfaction, they decided to manufacture it. It was a Saturday rush. The diner was packed. Booths full, counter seats taken, a steady stream of orders ringing through the kitchen. I was moving like a machine. Burgers sizzling, fries crisping, pancakes flipping with the kind of rhythm only muscle memory gives you. Customers were happy, the register was singing, and then I saw them. The family, Mom, Dad, and Erica, walking in like they owned the place. Erica in her I'm a professional now pencil skirt, even though she'd probably quit her job before the ink on her first paycheck dried. Dad with his hands behind his back, surveying the room like he was about to do a hostile takeover. Mom trailing behind, wearing that fake supportive smile she saves for PTA meetings and funerals. The second they walked in, I knew it wasn't about food. It was about control. They waited until the lunch rush settled a little before approaching me. Dad cleared his throat like he was opening a board meeting. Connor, we've been thinking. Scary thought, I cut in, wiping down the counter. His jaw tightened. You can't keep running this place by gut instinct. Erica has real-world experience. She should oversee your finances. I raised an eyebrow. Real-world experience? You mean quitting 4 jobs in 2 years? Yeah, I'll pass. Erica tried smiling. That smug little grin she thinks makes her look confident. Look, Connor, we're just saying. Let me handle the boring money stuff. You just cook. Everyone wins. Everyone except me, I shot back. Funny how that keeps happening. The customers nearby were pretending not to listen, but you could feel the ears tuning in. I leaned in just enough to make sure my voice carried. You didn't show up to my grand opening. You tried to tank me with rumors. And now you want the keys to the safe? Hard number. That shut them up for a beat. Then Mom put on her sweet voice routine. Well, fine, at least let us try the food. We've never even had a proper meal here. And that's when I knew. They weren't here to eat. They were here to pull a stunt. But I wasn't about to show weakness in front of a full house, so I nodded. Sure. Booth by the window's open. I'll send over plates myself. I plated everything personally. Patty melts, fries, onion rings, one of my loaded skillets. Everything was perfect. Golden fries, sizzling meat, the kind of presentation that makes people whip out their phones. I dropped it off at their table with a smile. Bon appetit. Try not to choke on your entitlement. The first few minutes were quiet. They poked at the food, Dad trying to look thoughtful like he was critiquing wine. Then it happened. Erica gasped loudly, dropped her fork, and held up half a sandwich like it was toxic waste. Oh my God! There's a hair in my food. The diner went dead silent. Forks froze midair. A couple at the counter pulled back their plates instinctively. You could feel the ripple of doubt starting to spread. Exactly what she wanted. She waved the evidence around like she'd found a rat tail. This is disgusting. You can't even run a clean kitchen? For a split second, my stomach dropped. Reputation in the food business is fragile. One rumor can tank you. That's what she was counting on. But then, salvation. At the table across from them sat a married couple, regulars of mine who'd been there since the vlogger video blew up. The wife stood up, calm as anything, and said, "That's funny, because I just watched you pull that hair out of your own head and put it in the sandwich." The entire diner turned to Erica. Dead quiet, all eyes on her. The husband chimed in, shaking his head. "Yeah, we saw you. You leaned over like you were adjusting your napkin, pulled it right from your hair, and shoved it in. Real slick." Erica froze. Her hand tightened around the sandwich, but her face gave her away. Red, twitching, busted. Then the murmur started. Customers whispering, side eyes turning into glares. A woman at the counter said loudly, "That's low. Real low." Another regular muttered, "Trying to sabotage your own brother? Pathetic." I crossed my arms, smirking. Well, looks like the jury's in. Erica, you're guilty of bad acting. And that sandwich? I made it myself. Too bad you wasted it. She stammered something about misunderstanding, and must have been a mistake, but the damage was done. Nobody was buying it. The married couple sat back down, proud as hell. The crowd went back to eating, shaking their heads. I leaned on her booth and dropped my voice low enough for only them to hear. You wanted to humiliate me in my own diner. Instead, you just embarrassed yourself in front of 50 strangers. Congrats. That's one hell of a resume builder. Erica shoved the plate away and stood up, cheeks blazing. Mom muttered something about leaving. Dad wouldn't even look me in the eye. They shuffled out like a pack of losers who'd just been called on their bluff. And me? I went right back to the grill, flipping pancakes like nothing happened. Customers clapped when the door shut behind them. Actual applause. That's when I knew. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was winning. Because when you build something real, no amount of fake hair can tear it down. 5. The hair stunt must have hit her pride harder than a truck because, after that, Erica went into full-blown damage control mode. You'd think she'd have taken the L quietly, maybe gone off to find an actual job she could keep longer than a gym membership. But no, she doubled down. Apparently, she started running her mouth at work again. Except this time, she took it up a notch. According to one of her co-workers, who came by the diner out of pure curiosity, Erica had been bragging that she was co-running the diner with her brother, claiming she handled the business side while I did the cooking. You know, the classic, "I'm basically the brains of the operation" routine. It was pathetic, but honestly, kind of hilarious. Especially since half the town already knew about her little hair plant performance from the married couple who exposed her. But apparently, her co-workers didn't. At least not yet. A few days later, while I was in the middle of prepping a batch of pies, the phone rang. A woman from some boutique marketing agency across town asked if she could speak to the owners about a potential catering partnership. Sure, I said, wiping my hands on a towel. You're speaking to him. Ah, wonderful. So, are you and Erica still managing the diner together? I froze for a second, then smirked. You mean my sister Erica? Yes, she said cheerfully. She told us she's co-owner. I leaned against the counter and said, right. Erica's involvement in this diner is about as real as her work ethic. She doesn't co-own anything except maybe her own bad decisions. The woman burst out laughing. So she's not even close. Unless she's been moonlighting as my mop bucket, I run this place solo. She thanked me, hung up, and I knew instantly that word was about to spread through Erica's office like wildfire. And oh, it did. Apparently, by the next day, she'd become the punchline of her entire floor. One coworker told a friend of mine that people were whispering stuff like, guess the boss girl forgot to actually own the business she's bragging about. One of her supervisors even called her out in front of a few people, asking why she lied about managing a diner. She tried spinning it as a miscommunication. No one bought it. Her reputation took a nosedive, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. All I did was answer the phone. Meanwhile, my diner was thriving. I had 3 new catering contracts that week. A football team ordered dinner for their end-of-season celebration. A local real estate office wanted weekly lunch deliveries. And a nearby wedding planner booked me for weekend events. I was practically living in that kitchen, but I didn't mind. The sound of a sizzling grill and a full cash register beats fake family support any day. Then came the anonymous complaint. It was a Thursday morning, right before the lunch rush. I was restocking condiments when a pair of people in navy jackets walked in. Both had clipboards, serious faces, and that government employee energy that makes you instantly check if your taxes are paid. Are you Connor Miller? One of them asked. That's me, I said. You folks hungry, or are we about to get audited? They didn't laugh. Health inspection. We received a complaint. A complaint, of course. I kept my face neutral, but inside I was already picturing Erica typing out an anonymous email from her cubicle like a budget Bond villain. Go right ahead, I said, holding the door to the kitchen open. You'll find the dirt where it belongs. In the fryer, not the floor. They got to work, checking temperatures, storage, surfaces, restrooms, trash bins, even under the soda machine. I just went about my business, flipping burgers and pouring coffee like it was any other day. The customers were watching, whispering a bit, but I didn't sweat it. An hour later, one of the inspectors looked up from her clipboard. You run this place alone? Yep, I said. Family helps sometimes, mostly by staying away. That actually made her chuckle. She jotted a few more notes, whispered something to her partner, and then handed me the signed sheet. Inspection passed, she said. You're one of the cleanest operations we've checked this month. Whoever filed that complaint might have just done you a favor. She handed me the on-site pass stamped excellent. The official certificate would come in the mail later, but I pinned that pass by the register before she even left. The regulars clapped. A couple of them joked that I should frame it next to Erica's fake resume. By the end of the day, that inspection had somehow made business even stronger. People saw the report and started spreading the word that my diner wasn't just good, it was spotless. Erica's little complaint had officially backfired. And right when I thought things couldn't get better, the universe decided to drop the perfect gift in my lap. A call came in from a company downtown, asking if I handled corporate catering. I said yes, took down the details, and nearly laughed out loud when I heard the name of the business. It was Erica's company. Her boss had seen the viral food review and the new health inspection report, decided the diner looked perfect, and told the team to reach out. Erica, trying to look useful, volunteered to pass along my number. So technically, her boss picked the place, but she acted like she'd brokered a deal. I didn't hesitate. Absolutely, I said. I'll make sure it's something special. And I meant it. I didn't care how much she begged or panicked. I was going to walk into that office, deliver the best damn food they'd ever tasted, and watch her crumble under the weight of her own lies. Because at this point, I wasn't just running a diner anymore. I was running her out of excuses. And apparently that terrified her, because the minute Erica found out her company had booked my diner for their corporate lunch, she went into full meltdown mode. According to a delivery coordinator who'd called me earlier, she tried to get the order canceled. Oh, we didn't realize it was family, she'd told her boss. Maybe we should go with a different caterer. Her boss had laughed. Are you kidding? This diner's everywhere online. They're the best-rated spot in town. We're keeping it. So yeah, I was locked in. That Friday morning, I loaded the truck myself. Steak sliders, garlic mashed potatoes, my signature skillet pasta, and a few pies just to flex. I don't usually do fancy presentation, but this time, I made sure everything looked photo ready. I even slapped my diner's logo on every tray. Fresh stickers, clean branding, the whole deal. When I walked into the company building, I swear I could feel the tension radiating from the front desk. The receptionist glanced up, recognition flashing in her eyes. Connor, right? The boss has been hyped about this lunch all week. Glad to hear it, I said, setting the trays on the catering cart. Let's make it a memorable one. And oh, it was going to be. The moment I walked into the conference room, I spotted her. Erica, sitting near the back in her cheap blazer, eyes widening like she'd seen a ghost. I could practically hear her thoughts. No way. She marched up, whispering harshly, "What are you doing here?" "Delivering food," I said flatly. "Your boss ordered from me." Her jaw clenched. "Don't embarrass me." I smirked. "Don't worry. I won't have to." Her boss walked in just in time, cheerful and completely oblivious to the family tension simmering 2 feet away. "Connor, right? Man, it's great to meet you. We've heard a lot about this place." "I bet you have," I said, shaking his hand. They started setting up, and I laid everything out buffet style. Perfect, steaming, aromatic. Within minutes, the room smelled like heaven. Employees started gathering around, murmuring compliments. Someone said, "If this tastes as good as it smells, I'm moving in." The boss clapped his hands. "All right, everyone. Let's thank Erica for connecting us with the diner." The room applauded. I actually bit my lip to keep from laughing. Erica's smile was the kind of smile people wear when their life's flashing before their eyes. "Oh, yeah, just, family business," she said, voice cracking. Her boss looked impressed. "So, you're involved in running this diner?" I decided to help her out. With the truth. "Not exactly," I said casually, setting down another tray. "She's more of a diner enthusiast. From the customer side." There was a beat of silence. The boss blinked. "Oh? I thought you two co-owned it." I shook my head, smiling. "Nope. I started it from scratch. Built it, funded it, run it solo. She's never even clocked an hour there. Unless you count the time she came in to fake a hair in her sandwich." The laughter started slow, 1 or 2 chuckles, and then rolled across the room. Erica's face drained of color. "That's not true," she blurted. "He's twisting things." Her boss raised a brow. "Excuse me? It was a misunderstanding," she stammered. "He's just joking." I tilted my head. "Sure, I joke. Especially about fake health complaints and planted evidence. Those are hilarious." Now people weren't laughing with her. They were laughing at her. Her boss crossed his arms. "Wait, what hair story?" Before I could even answer, a guy from accounting spoke up. "Wait a second," he said, frowning. "I think I've heard about this. There was a local thread going around last month about some woman getting caught faking a hair in her food at a diner. My sister sent me the post. It went kind of viral in town." "That was you, wasn't it?" Erica froze. Her face went pale as concrete. The guy continued, shaking his head. "Yeah, she said it made the rounds. One of the wildest things she'd seen online." Now the entire room was staring at Erica. Her boss frowned. "Erica, is that true?" she stammered, voice barely a whisper. It's not what you think." I folded my arms. "It's exactly what we think." The room broke into nervous laughter. A few people covered their mouths. Others just stared at her like she'd grown another head. Her boss exhaled, clearly done with the nonsense. "We'll talk about this later." And that was that. The rest of the lunch went perfectly. Everyone raved about the food. Sliders disappearing, plates wiped clean, people going back for seconds. I handed out cards, took photos with staff, shook hands with the boss. The guy from accounting even came up afterward, grinning. "Man, your food's legit. My sister wasn't kidding. You handled that whole thing like a pro." "Appreciate it," I said. "Guess honesty ages better than lies." Erica sat off to the side, pretending to check her phone, eyes glassy and red. She didn't eat. She didn't speak. Just sat there like a deflated balloon while her co-workers lined up for seconds of my food. By the time I packed up, the boss thanked me again. "We'll definitely be using you for future events. And, I'll make sure everyone knows who really runs the diner." "Please do," I said with a grin. "I've got plenty of room on my schedule now that I'm not sharing credit with anyone." Walking out of that building was pure satisfaction. No shouting match, no revenge speech, just cold, undeniable proof that the truth always outs itself, and that karma sometimes comes with free lunch. That day wasn't just business. It was closure. They'd spent years trying to convince the world I couldn't do it without them. Turns out I didn't just do it without them. I did it in front of them. And that, apparently, broke something in the family's little fantasy world. Word about the corporate lunch spread fast. A few of Erica's coworkers had posted pictures of the food on their social pages, tagging the diner. The post blew up. Best catering we've had all year. Local business run by a real pro. My phone lit up with messages, calls, and new followers. Meanwhile, Erica's silence online was deafening. No selfies, no motivational quotes, just digital crickets. 2 weeks later, I got the full scoop from one of her coworkers. Turns out, she'd been put under review at work for misrepresenting herself to management. Translation: she lied too much, and they were done pretending they didn't notice. Apparently, the boss she'd bragged to about co-owning my diner had found out the truth after that catering gig. He wasn't subtle about it either. Straight up asked her in a team meeting, "So, Erica, what's your next fake project?" She cried, people laughed, it was ugly, and honestly, couldn't have happened to a more deserving person. But karma wasn't done. Out of nowhere, Mom called me one Sunday morning. I almost didn't pick up, figured it was another guilt trip, but curiosity won. "Connor," she started in that fake sweet tone she uses when she's about to beg for something. "How are things?" "Busy," I said, keeping my voice flat. "The diner's packed every weekend." "What's up?" "Well," she dragged the word out. "Your father's been a little worried about Erica. Things haven't been easy for her. She's between jobs right now." "Between jobs?" I repeated. "You mean unemployed again?" "Don't be cruel," she snapped, then quickly softened her tone again. "We were thinking, maybe you could let her help at the diner. You're doing so well, and it would give her experience." I laughed. Not a polite one. A real, from-the-gut laugh. "Help? You mean the same girl who told everyone I was dirty, irresponsible, and crawling with roaches?" "Yeah, hard pass." Dad's voice cut in from the background, clearly on speaker. "You've made your point, son. No need to rub it in. We're a family. We should stick together." "Funny," I said. "You didn't sound this family-oriented when you skipped my grand opening for her little first-job barbecue." Silence. Just the faint sound of Dad exhaling through his nose, like he wanted to say something but knew he'd lose. Then Mom chimed in again, quieter. "Connor, your father and I are also going through some things. Your dad's hours got cut. We might be behind on a few payments. We were hoping you could help, just until things settle." There it was. The real reason for the call. Not forgiveness, not family, just money. I took a long breath. "You know, for years, you called me irresponsible. Said I couldn't manage anything. Told the family not to invest in me because I'd fail." "Connor, that's not fair," Mom started. "It's exactly fair," I cut in. "You all made your choice. And now you're coming to the same guy you tried to humiliate for being too ambitious. Sorry, but the charity drawer's closed." Dad tried the guilt route. "So you're just going to abandon your family when they need you most?" "Yeah," I said simply. "Exactly that." There was this sharp pause, like the call had turned to static. Then Mom muttered something about how heartless you've become. And I said, "Nah, I just learned boundaries." I hung up before they could start round two. A year ago, that conversation would have wrecked me. But that day, I just turned my phone off, tied my apron, and went right back to work. They had spent years trying to convince everyone I was the unstable one, the dreamer, the failure. Now they were the ones calling for help, and I was the one ignoring the phone. And it felt better than any apology ever could. I locked up, stepped outside into the cool night air, and looked back at the diner. My diner. The windows glowed gold in the dark, soft light spilling out like a quiet middle finger to everyone who doubted me. I smiled, got in my truck, and drove off. Not to prove a point. Not to brag, just because I finally could. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.